everybody, and welcome to a very special discussion on my favorite board game publisher of all time, Z-Man Games. Now, I might not have very many of their games, and frankly I would like to have more of them, but one of the best things that I love about them is the fact that all of their games run the gambit from not only exceedingly difficult games to relatively easy games, but also they run the gambit with theme all over the map. It's wonderful, it's amazing, and my personal favorite aspect of all of the games is the fact that all of the components that come with all of their games are extremely high quality, and I think that is a great aspect to have with any game company, because if you got really bad quality components, then you're only going to get to play, 10 hours or so maybe, and that doesn't make for a good game in my opinion. So that's part of why Z-Man Games are such awesome games for me, and they're so close to my heart in my gaming life. So to start off, my personal favorite game of all time from Z-Man Game, the Pandemic series. So here we've got Pandemic, the original game, and this is the second expansion, Pandemic in the Lab. I've talked many times about Pandemic, and in addition, inside of this box is the first expansion, On the Brink, so don't worry, I do have that. And basically, this is a wonderful game in many different ways. First off, it's a cooperative game, which are relatively rare to find, and when you do find them, then it's kind of yes, no, maybe they're good, maybe they're not, they're probably not. And what ends up happening more often than not, even with Pandemic, I will admit, is one person tends to take over whatever's going on. It's difficult to not do that in a lot of cooperative games, but I think that Pandemic does a very good job of making sure that everybody has something specific that they can offer the team, and that's why you have specific roles. Unlike things where you've got a lot of tile building games where characters are built very similarly, and it's just a matter of who gets to whatever it is first. With Pandemic, you really have to strategize about who's going to go where, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, all of that kind of stuff. Makes it much more compelling, a lot of fun, and the expansions add a very substantial amount of additional gameplay with new roles, new cards, new gameplay elements, which is what Pandemic in the Lab really did a lot of, is new elements, all of this kind of stuff. All in all, a wonderful game from a great game company. One of the other games that I've talked about several times from Z-Man Games is another one of my favorites simply because it combines both food and board gaming, and it is Wasabi. This is really more of a light-hearted game from Z-Man, which is really nice. Again, they do run the gamut from very difficult to very simple. Well, not very simple, but much easier to learn and play. And Wasabi is definitely one of the easier ones to learn and play, as is Pandemic. They both have relatively simple mechanics that are easy to remember, simple rules where it's just like you do this, and this, and then you're done with your turn, it's the next person. Wasabi is just fun because it's a light-hearted crowd game. Maybe not a huge crowd, obviously, but you can still get a decent number of people to come and play, and you get to have a lot of fun basically making sushi. And it's really cool, it's a lot of fun. It is competitive, which is nice, because, competition is, always brings out the best in people. But basically it's a really fun game, it's a great game, it's a good party game, it's quick. You really can't beat it in terms of all the different stuff you have. And again, with Z-Man Games, you have wonderful components, and they have little clever components too, which is great. You have little soy sauce dishes for wasabi, all this kind of stuff. It's just cute. It's just adorable. I love it. Next is actually another cooperative game based off of a very famous intellectual property that I've talked about previously, which is The Walking Dead. Now, obviously, this is a huge TV show, massive graphic novels, regular chapter novels, all sorts of stuff. And there are actually several different versions of the board game. I happen to have the Z-Man version. I do not have, nor have I played any of the other board game versions of The Walking Dead. But again, this is another cooperative game, and this one's kind of nice because you get some of the elements of like Battlestar Galactica or Shadows over Camelot, where you can potentially have somebody being really evil and backstabby and mean. But in this case, it's a lot more in-your-face backstabby for whatever that's worth. But essentially, you literally can go up to people and take all their stuff and kill them. Or you can group together, make a giant super group, and go around and just leave everybody else in the dust, or really try to complete the game as a complete group. This can become a very treacherous game very, very easily, similar to Cosmic Encounter, where you have alliances that can be very easily and very quickly broken, which can be very, very unpleasant, but it makes for a wonderful game and it's a lot of fun. And one of the other great things about this is that it is good for solo play, which I have discussed earlier in one of my other videos. In that you can not only play just as a single character wandering around the world, but you can also play as multiple people, just like with Pandemic. Or any cooperative game, really, you can play solo, but with The Walking Dead specifically, it is rated for a single player, which is nice. And it is a lot of fun solo, and it does have the sort of feel of The Walking Dead as a franchise and as a property where you're just really alone, you have no clue what's going on, you don't know if you're going to have the food or the gas or the medicine to keep your people alive. It's a lot of fun, and it, for lack of a better term, brings to life the zombie apocalypse, which I think is a great achievement with a game like this. Lots of fun. Last but certainly not least is the one really hardcore game from Z-Man that I've got, and it is Dungeon Lords. This is a wonderful, wonderful, fun game that turns the sort of general fantasy RPG genre, like D&D, Pathfinder, all those kinds of things, up over on its head. And the reason being simply that you are the owner of a dungeon and you're trying to make it the best dungeon that you possibly can. You're hiring goons and you're setting up traps, you're sending out your goblins to do your dirty work, you've got minions to go out and get new people or gold or food or whatever it is, all sorts of stuff. And it's just really, really fun, and it's interesting to be able to play a game from that different perspective. And like I said earlier, this is a very heavy strategy intense game, which I personally really like, and I love it from Z-Man Games, because again, you've got wonderful, good quality components, and you have a great game overall in that it's a lot of fun to play, it's a wonderful game, and it is very difficult. I personally enjoy that, and this is the type of game where you have to play it 2, 3, 4 times before you really get the hang of what's going on. You can grasp the really big subtleties. Well, big subtleties. Either way. You can grasp the subtleties of the game, such as controlling the happiness meter and your evil meter so that you can get the adventures you want, all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of really tiny strategic elements to this game that really don't come to light immediately. And I enjoy that with games, especially like this. It makes it a lot more fun, in my opinion. I think it's really, really cool. So with that, that's my little overview of all of the Z-Man games that I personally have. I know there are a ton more, and I would love to hear more about them if you guys know any of them. But for me, this is the end of the line for me. I hope that you guys like my little video on the Z-Man games that I have played and own, and why I like them, why I like the games, why I like the company as a whole. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.